Hey YouTube walkers, it's me, not Andrew, and well, another spoiler season's come and gone. Now that I've had a few days to look through the full spoiler, I feel confident in my ability to give you my top 10 cards in Throne of Eldraine, the new expansion for Magic the Gathering. Now remember, this video is just my opinion, so if I leave off your favorite card or if you disagree with me, well, you can just go suck an egg right through a straw. Okay, so first off, I have some honorable mentions. Finally, food in Magic. Now I know this isn't technically a card per se, which is why it's an honorable mention, but I'm just such a fan of the new food mechanic that I had to give it a shout out here. Now obviously food tokens are great because they gain you 3 life for just 2 mana, but they're also really cool if you're into Magic role-playing like I am. The great thing about tokens in general is that you don't actually have to use the official Wizards tokens. You can use whatever you want, so why not use a Dorito? Okay, so my next honorable mention is Roving Keep. Now, Roving Keep is a colorless artifact creature who's essentially a 7/7 for 7, and he can be played in any deck because he's colorless. Now, it's become rarer and rarer to see perfectly on-rate colorless creature cards like this, and I'm actually surprised to see it in this set. And not only that, he's also a wall, giving him a lot of powerful tribal synergies, especially with the recent printing of Pac-Man Sky Rampart. With all that said, I don't really see this card getting a whole lot of standard play outside of high alert decks, but he's so important to EDH, I had to include him here as an honorable mention. Okay, for my final honorable mention, I have Skullknocker Ogre. Now, Skullknocker Ogre is here more for the reference he's making than for the card itself. Okay, before we get right to it, it'd be really great if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, post me on Reddit, tell your friends about me, tell your mom, tell your... Disclaimer, I don't actually have any social media accounts. The 10th best card from the Throne of Eldraine is Clackbridge Troll. Okay, so Clackbridge Troll is a 5 CMC black troll creature, 8/8 trample haste. When he ETBs, target opponent creates 3/0/1 white goat creature tokens, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, your opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does tap Clackbridge Troll, you gain 3 life and you draw a card. Now, Clackbridge Troll is an obviously undercosted creature, being 8/8 trample haste for 5, so he has to come with some drawbacks, the biggest of which is giving your opponent 3 creature tokens. But in the right deck, and especially in Legacy, this almost becomes an upside because you can just goat nap your creatures back. The 9th best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Spectre Shriek. Okay, so Spectre Shriek is for 1 black mana, target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player exiles that card. Exiles. If a non-black card is exiled this way, exile a card from your hand. Now this card's another build around, but it's a strictly better drill bit in the right deck. So for example, if you don't hit a black card, you can exile one of your adventure cards and then still have that card for use later. Now between you and me, I'm a level 1 Magic judge, so I know that it doesn't work quite that way. But your opponent might not. Another thing I really like about this card is that it takes me back to the old Mulligan rule. Start with 7 with this in your opening hand, you might as well have mulled to 6. And it's pure upside because now my opponent's down a card too. The 8th best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Oathsworn Knight. Oathsworn Knight is just another fantastic undercosted creature. 4 power, 4 toughness for only 3 mana. And now Oathsworn Knight has a extra ability here where he doesn't have traditional power and toughness, but instead has 1/1 counters. And that fact might seem innocuous, but remember, we have Proliferate in this format. Proliferate has to be one of the best mechanics ever printed in the history of Magic. I'm actually really surprised Wizards allowed this to be printed. It's so insanely good. The 7th best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Swamp. Look at that Art. So Swamp is a 0 CMC colorless land card that enters the battlefield untapped, and you can tap it to add 1 black mana to your mana pool. Black is looking to be the best color in Standard, and you can't play black spells without producing black mana. I mean, without lands, all other cards would be completely useless. It's actually insane to me how people don't put lands in their top 10s more often. The 6th best card in the Throne of Eldraine is, you probably guessed it, Fabled Passage. What's better than a swamp? A card that gets you a swamp. So you can sacrifice Fabled Passage to search your library for a basic land card, and if you control 4 or more lands, it comes into play untapped, making this card a strictly better Terramorphic Expanse. And I also just love and value cards that let you shuffle your library. Now, a neat little trick you can do with shuffle effects is if you're up a game, you can just pile shuffle to run the clock down. The 5th best card in Throne of Eldraine is Fae of Wishes. Now, if you saw my last video, you know this was my spoiler card for Throne of Eldraine, so I had to include it. Thanks, Wizards. Since I've been given the card, I've had a little more time to think about it and its possible applications outside of Standard. Now I'm thinking this card's going to be particularly good in Vintage because it represents an additional copy of any card on the restricted list. You're hearing me right, folks. You could use this card, fetch up a Burning Wish, and goodbye restrictions. The 4th best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Oko, Thief of Crowns. Oko, Thief of Crowns is a 3 CMC, 1 green, 1 blue, 1 generic, legendary planeswalker Oko, mythic rare too. And the ability here I'm really latching onto is his +2 that creates a food token. Oko is easily the best food token generator in the whole set. He only costs 3, and that ability that makes a food token is a plus ability. Now this is better than some other planeswalkers' ultimates, and you get 2 loyalty counters for that. This guy's great, he'll make you a whole bag of Doritos, but I fear for a healthy Standard environment. The 3rd best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Once Upon a Time. Okay, so Once Upon a Time is a 2 CMC, green, instant, 1 green, 1 generic. If this spell is the first spell you cast this game, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that this card is great. That's why it's 3 on my list, but I do think people are latching on too much to the fact that you can play it for free on your first turn. Now, Magic is a game largely about board presence, and if you're playing Once Upon a Time on your first turn instead of a creature, you're not building a board presence. This card can be really good for free if, say, you keep a no-land hand. Now, with that said, this card is just generally fantastic as a late-game draw spell for green. Look through 5 cards for 2 mana, it's extremely undercosted, it's basically like Standard got its very own Tome Scour. The 2nd best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Happily Ever After. You can't have Once Upon a Time without Happily Ever After. Now this card is obviously incredibly powerful. It is a 3-cost white enchantment, 2 generic, 1 white. When Happily Ever After enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents you control, there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control, and or cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game. Now 3 mana for a win the game effect is already good, but it has additional upsides of life gain and card draw. I've heard a lot of people saying that the conditions for the victory are difficult to meet, but I just disagree. Between Sphinx of the Guild Pact and Persistent Petitioners, you should be able to get there pretty easily. Okay, we're finally here. The first best card in the Throne of Eldraine is Piper of the Swarm. Now, this card is on my list, if not for anything else, as a tribute to my dear friend, Andrew. Piper of the Swarm is a 1 generic, 1 black, human warlock creature, 1 power, 3 toughness, and some other stuff. Andrew would have just absolutely loved this card. It's a strictly better Bane Alley Blackguard, and its abilities are optional, so you don't have to use them if you don't want to read them. From my perspective, I'm a little disappointed in this card because it is just such obvious power creep, and it's a rare. Cha-ching. Well, there it is. So before I get going here, I did want to update you guys on something. I just want to let everybody rest assured that I'm still trying to get Andrew Garfield vs. Finkelbox open. It's just really hard. Now, I'd be willing to make a video if you guys are interested, but trust me, nothing has worked. The crowbar, the drill, the sledgehammer. Haven't tried dynamite, but I don't think it'd be much better. Anyways, Godspeed, Andrew, wherever you might be.